What's going on, Mr. Houston?
How you doing, E? You doing all right?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Good.
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
No, of course, of course. I know I just want to get started because I know you got things to do. So definitely want to jump in here. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect, perfect. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Again, my name is Eric K. Thomas, and I'm the editor-in-chief of the Quintessential Gentleman, which is a media platform that focuses on the positive stories and telling the successes of Black men. And
Mhm.
right now we have our mocktails conversation with the listen, it's all-star, okay?
Mhm.
All-star Allan Houston. But even more than that, now he's senior advisor to the general manager of the New York Knicks, and also the founder of a apparel company called Fizzle.
That's right. You said it right.
Perfect, perfect.
Mhm.
So, how you doing? You doing all right?
This has been good. I mean, obviously a lot of people are going through this in different ways. I have 7 children. My wife and I are just enjoying the time with them, but it's been good in some ways. But I'm just kind of praying for a lot of family members, a lot of people who are trying to overcome a lot of barriers through this. But all in all, I think God is allowing us to really see things in a new way, different way, and just try to see what's next.
Right, right. Oof, 7 children. Whew, I don't know how you're doing it. That quarantine, I know it hit different for you for sure. Trying to make sure that everyone is staying, not bored or getting on your nerves
Yeah.
or, still trying to be productive.
Yeah, but that's true. But I one that's always been on the road traveling, been really busy. So for me, this has been a time to really get to know them in a deeper way,
Mm,
and just spend time that I know I'll never get again. So I think I believe life is so much about perspective, right?
right.
And it's how you see it, how you experience it, and you have to choose to see it in a certain way, and that's what we just try to talk about every day.
Awesome, awesome. That was one of my questions, as being
Yeah,
somebody who, when you were playing and even now, that work-life balance, how is
yeah.
that for a typical athlete?
Well, when I was playing, I finished playing, and my oldest two were 3 or 4 when I stopped. So they didn't get a chance to see me really in this life. So a lot of
Mhm.
my transition, a lot of the things that I was going through was more transition,
Right,
trying to figure out what I was going to do, how I was going to continue to make an impact, how I was going to still be of value to, the organization, to sport, to society, and to them.
right.
So I've tried, really intentionally, and I think that's the biggest thing I say is it's got to be very intentional. We talk about priorities. You got to really set priorities. You can't just wait for things to happen, and you got to set your priorities and stick to them.
Right, right. So, I was looking, researching, just kind of on your later years, about
Hmm.
being real, big on being a father, and also you're a spokesperson for the National Fatherhood Initiative. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, that years ago I was asked to do that, and over the
Hmm.
years, fatherhood has been extremely important to me. My father was, my college coach. He was the
Wow.
first black coach to coach in the Southeastern Conference at the University of Tennessee. So I got a chance to see fatherhood from a very profound perspective when he was coaching me, dealing with being a college coach, being with a community leader, dealing with a lot of things that he had to deal with, and how he respected my mother, my sister. So my wife and I, we knew we wanted to have a big family. We didn't know we wanted to have 7, but I learned so much about young people and youth, and that's why so passionate. We're so passionate about helping our young people really develop in this, especially in today's culture when so many things are being thrown. They have to deal with so many things that we didn't have to deal with in
Right.
terms of social media and even what's going on in the world today, going through this COVID. So for me, we're just passionate about children and giving them the best opportunity that they can have because they didn't ask to be here, right?
Right.
So we want to say, like, God has a plan for you, he has a purpose for you, and it's our responsibility to kind of mirror our expectations as parents and especially as fathers, especially as a black father. I have 2 sons, and seeing uh, the life, the view and the lens that they are seeing the world through. That's why I
Right.
appreciate what you're doing with your platform because
Thank you.
young, especially young black men, need to see positive examples, positive opportunities, and they need to see themselves in ways that are explosive and aspirational.
Right. Right. It's definitely, very, very big for us. I don't have any children, but to talk about Black fatherhood is so big for me to post Black fathers because, kind of growing up, you didn't get to see Black men in that light of being fathers. They, there's always this misconception they didn't want to be in their kid's life and all this type of stuff, which, we all know it's not true. So it's very important to us. So the fact that you are broadcasting, love your kids and broadcasting, we definitely love to see it.
Yeah.
So the NBA restarted last night. How do you think the NBA is handling, the threat of COVID-19?
Well, first of all, I learned to walk on a basketball court. Let me start there. The basketball has been so, impactful to me. But the fact that I can, after post-career, see, have relationships with, Adam Silver, Shel Roberts, Mark Tatum, and people who are really connecting. I think the NBA does a good job of trying to understand who the players are first as people, understand what they go through. And life is about relationships, right? So you have to form the relationships to see what do you really need? How can we keep you healthy? How can we keep you safe? How can we know that we want to bring this game back to the world. We know sports are meeting, but we can't do it at the expense of not making sure everyone's healthy and safe. I think, the bubble, I think they've done a good job. I haven't been there, but I've talked to people in there, talked to people who are kind of facilitating things, and they're taking every measure they can. I mean, it might be one of the safer places you can actually be right now. So the fact that players can get out and compete, do what they love, do what they're called to do in life at this stage, it's tough for athletes who can't compete right now. What I mean? You can learn virtually. It's not the best way to learn, but you can learn virtually. You can't compete virtually.
Right.
You know what I mean? So now you're allowing that. I was excited to see games again. I think people will see it. And this is a chance for players to not only play and compete, do what they're called to do, but also take advantage of a bigger platform that's needed in our world, and speak out in a dynamic and intelligent way that hopefully can lead to real lasting change.
Yeah. And it's crazy because I kind of felt like we were getting some type of normalcy by being able to turn on the TV and see basketball on, just a little piece of it, but to your point, they can't work from home like, other people can. So definitely have to get out there, and happy that NBA is taking, that initiative. In terms of, you spoke about speaking out and things like that. What is your reaction to the amount of support that athletes are doing in terms of Black Lives Matter and social injustice?
This has been going on. We know this has been going on. I mean, the reason I think this is, I believe COVID and the pandemic has accelerated the conversation because it is shed a light on it. Obviously, with George Floyd and Breonna and all these things that have happened. This has been a conversation already. It's just now that the light is shining, and then the layers are getting peeled back, right? And I think the true heart and intention and the true identity of our country and the powers that be are being exposed. And so what's happening is there's just a lot of energy coming into it. Young, dynamic, intelligent athletes who are informed, who are equipped, are able to speak and have knowledge. And I think it rubs a lot of people the wrong way.
Right.
And I think that's a good thing, because we know that in any relationship, going back to relationships, we have to consider our country. We still have a relationship with parties that have to work together, that have to thrive together.
Right.
In a relationship, we're going to have disagreements, but unless truth and repentance really comes forth, then you're not going to really move forward. It's like a marriage, right? So if someone is being unappreciated, oppressed, even abused, then that has to be acknowledged. It has to be acknowledged, and it has to be dealt with. And we don't know, I don't know how long it's going to take for that truly to happen, but we have to keep the players and everyone who has the heart to do it has to keep doing it.
Right.
See, and the reality is not everybody's going to want to have this conversation. Not
Mm-hmm.
everybody's going to want to engage. But what has to happen is we have to force it. You know what I mean? And so I'm seeing a lot of people say, well, man, I just want to watch sports. I ain't asked
Right.
for to be all this all up in my face.
Right.
Listen, if you like sports, if you like this game,
Mm-hmm.
then you will appreciate the people playing the game, not
Right.
just the athlete. You'll
Right.
appreciate the person playing the game. If you appreciate the person playing the game, then you appreciate what that person is going through.
Right.
So for all those people who are saying, I just want to watch basketball, that's not the right way, then you're really trying to overlook what something that's really wrong that's going on. So I was in those, that position before, where you have to make decisions. I remember when we had training camp in Charleston, South Carolina, when I was a Knick, and they had the Confederate flag, and we had to decide, are we still going to have training camp because the state capitol refused to take the Confederate flag down. We chose not to do training camp there. There's decisions that athletes are going to have to make, and that's your gift and that's your responsibility, I believe. Not everybody, but everybody shouldn't feel like they have to speak on something they're not really ready emotionally or equipped to speak on either.
Right.
So we can't fault players for not doing something, but we do have to look at the bigger picture. To me, as a fan and as a citizen of this nation, and say, if I care enough about the bigger picture, then I have to engage.
Right. And that's, part of one of my questions was just going to be, what do you say to the critics that say they should shut up and dribble or keep the politics off the court? But like you said, it's,
It's disrespectful.
Mm-hmm.
It's disrespectful to an athlete to say that. It's disrespectful because if you're saying that, imagine if it was your son or daughter who were in that position. And even though they're not, you got to imagine that if you really appreciate what the athlete is, the whole person, the whole athlete. Because if you're just saying shut up and dribble, that's just saying, you know what, you're just there to entertain me, and that's disrespectful. So if you're really a fan, or if you're really respecting what the athlete has to go through to provide that level of engagement, entertainment, then you got to respect what they're going through as a person. I personally just consider disrespectful, because I've been in that seat, and as an athlete, I've been in situations where I'm in my home and the police knocked on my door and like, do you live here? What do you mean, do I live here? You know what I mean? Because I'm a 25-year-old black man, opening this door, so people who have that opinion don't care, or don't have a true understanding or compassion for the player.
And I would be remiss if I didn't ask about, back in 2003, you had what's still one of the best games that they say between the Lakers and the Knicks. You were playing with Kobe Bryant, outscoring him. And I want to know what your thoughts are about his contribution to the game.
Well, it wasn't just about his contribution to the game. To me, it was his contribution to society, to our world. What Kobe brought he brought the mentality. The Mamba mentality was bigger than basketball. It's bigger than sports. To me, it was inspirational for anyone who wanted to achieve anything, because what he envisioned in his mind and what he said, he actually did. And what he did is he exhausted every ounce of everything in his whole being to be his absolute best. And you can't fault that. Very few people are willing to do that. Right. Very few people are willing to do what he did physically, and there very few people are willing to imagine and envision who and what he wanted to be. And I think that's aspirational. I just admire who he he was as a father too,
Hmm.
right? And you know, I have 5 daughters.
Right.
Along, so when you look at what he meant to just a parent, a leader, young people, it was bigger than basketball. It's bigger than sport.
Right. No, definitely, definitely. So you are, you have your apparel line, you are author as well. What else can we look forward to from Allan Houston?
Well, Fizzle is the name of an organization that a brand that I was inspired to launch years ago. My father, I said, it was inspired by my father and my relationship with my parents and just leaders and coaches. It's really a 5-point strategy for developing healthy relationships, help and healthier self. We all need a coach. We all need something to inspire us and move us, but we also need a strategy. And if we don't have a strategy and a framework through which to see our life and to look at our inner self, then we're going to fall short. We're
Right.
never going to reach our potential. So the fundamentals of faith, integrity, sacrifice, leadership, and legacy are what we call the 5 fundamentals of life. And we call those not just fundamentals that you can teach on the basketball court, but they're life fundamentals. They're actually spiritual principles that allow us to see our lives from the highest perspective. And they also allow us to just kind of look in the mirror, which we have to do to grow.
Hmm.
They help us to develop healthy relationships. You need other people. So what we do is we have a digital platform similar to what we're on here. We do a lot of leadership training, like the leadership coaching. We work with teams, we work with organizations. Um, and as you said, we do have a merchandising component. We have an
Hmm.
NBA license. Um, and we're just working with, groups and individuals who really want to just live their best life, but who need a real plan and strategy. I've been fortunate to be in basketball and player development post career,
Hmm.
and these are conversations we constantly have because the one thing we all want to understand is how we impact winning as a basketball player, as an athlete. Your question is, how are you going to lead to winning?
Right.
And in life, how do you lead to winning? And how do you define success for your life? So we combine the merchandise with this platform so that when you see this right here,
Hmm.
this is a NBA Fizzle Knicks thing. And so I want people to say when they wear this apparel, I want it to feel like they're representing these values. Don't live your life from the inside out. So when you're wearing something, Fizzle, it really should represent, that I'm living these values out. And I'm just excited because we have a campaign that we're launching that COVID kind of slowed it down, but it's not going to
Right.
stop it, right? It's
Right.
a 20, we're trying to engage 20,000 leaders. What we need now is really leaders, young leaders, to step up and lead in a time like this. And we're
Right.
trying to equip and inspire leaders to live these values, to know what they mean, and really promote this lifestyle so that when someone sees Fizzle, like, man,
Hmm.
that's different. That
Right.
stands out.
Right.
I've been fortunate to have people in my life that I modeled my life after, my father, my parents. Even like when I was playing, I played with guys like Grant Hill, Joe Dumars, John Starks, Patrick Ewing, and these values really stood out as to people like that because to lead, and especially today, you got to stand out. You got to be
Right.
set apart. That's
Right.
what Kobe was, right?
Right.
And so we're really trying to engage these leaders, credible messengers to our young people, people who are not afraid to stand up for righteousness, what's right. It's not about politics. It's not about gender. This is about right. Like Tony Evans, a pastor, said, is righteousness and justice that stand together.
Mm.
And so, so Fizzle is really about that. And you go to the website and get involved. But, I appreciate you asking because, I see platforms like yours who are really just trying to accentuate and accelerate this message.
Right. Oh, definitely, for sure. And please keep us posted on that so we can broadcast and let more people know once you have all the details and stuff set up. But I know that you have to go. I definitely want to say thank you. I have a whole bunch of questions, but
We can do
there'll
it
be
again,
another
man.
time
We
for
do it again
sure.
for sure. You know, I really like what you're doing, and any young brothers trying to just be positive and be an inspiration to our young people. I'm all about it.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Mr. Allan Houston, again, appreciate the conversation. We'll definitely do this again. And everybody have a good night.
All right. Thank you.